I still remember the exact moment I realized my mother only loved what I could give her, not who I was. It wasn't when she let me go at 16 without a fight. It wasn't during the years of silence that followed. It wasn't even when she suddenly reappeared in my life the moment my career took off. It was when I stood in my own living room, watching her face transform from fake tears to cold fury because I wouldn't give her my lake house, a $300,000 birthday gift she felt entitled to simply because she'd given birth to me. I'm Adeline, and 6 months ago, I thought I understood what family meant. I believed blood created bonds that couldn't be broken, that mothers instinctively put their children first, and that success meant sharing everything with the people who raised you. I was wrong about all of it. My journey began with something beautifully simple, a dream I'd carried since I was old enough to earn my own money. At 32, I'd finally reached a point in my career where this dream felt within reach. Working as a leading expert at a high-end cosmetology company meant demanding days and excellent pay. The kind of pay that had already helped me buy my own apartment 2 years earlier, and now made something else possible, a lake house. Not some sprawling mansion with a 10-car garage. Just a modest cottage where I could watch morning mist rise off still water, where birdsong would replace car horns, where wooden boards would creak beneath my bare feet instead of cold city concrete. I'd saved meticulously, researched mortgage rates until my eyes burned, and browsed listings during lunch breaks until I could practically smell pine trees and lake water through my computer screen. The dream felt so close I could taste it, along with the coffee I imagined drinking on that future deck while watching the sunrise. All I needed was to share my excitement with the people who mattered most. But here's where my story twists into something you might recognize if you've ever dealt with family complications that run deeper than holiday dinner disagreements. My parents divorced when I was 12. Not the friendly kind where parents sit together at graduations and birthdays. The bitter kind that turns children into message carriers and homes into emotional war zones. I became human luggage, living 2 months with my father, then 2 months with my mother, never fully unpacking my suitcase anywhere. At 12, you don't have words for how exhausting that feels. You just know you're always partly somewhere else, never completely home. Dad remarried first, barely a year after signing divorce papers. His new wife Abigail came with her 9-year-old son Ethan. I remember walking into their house for the first time, 13 and suspicious of this woman who was supposed to somehow fit into our fractured family puzzle. But Abigail surprised me in ways I wasn't prepared for. She didn't force anything or demand I call her mom. She simply showed up. When math homework frustrated me to tears, she'd sit beside me at the kitchen table, patient and encouraging. When I felt awkward and out of place, she'd naturally include me in conversations without making it obvious. And Ethan, this scrappy kid who could have resented sharing his mother's attention, treated me like the big sister he'd always wanted. Living at Dad and Abigail's felt like being part of something genuine. Abigail would help me pick out clothes for school dances, offering gentle suggestions without judgment. Ethan would pester me to play video games until I gave in, and we'd spend hours laughing at his terrible commentary. Dad seemed lighter there, happier than I'd seen him in years. But every 2 months, I'd pack everything up and move to Mom's house, where everything felt different. Colder. Mom had also remarried, to a man named Vernon who had a daughter named Blair, 2 years older than me. Vernon was the kind of man who communicated in grunts and seemed to view my presence as an inconvenience that interrupted his television watching. Blair acted like I was invading her territory every time I walked through the door. I tried fitting in at Mom's house the way I did at Dad's. But it felt like walking on eggshells constantly, like I was some unwelcome houseguest who'd overstayed before I'd even arrived. When I was 16, I finally gathered my courage for the conversation I'd been rehearsing for months. "Mom," I said one evening, my hands trembling slightly beneath the dining table, "I think I want to live with Dad full-time." I expected tears, arguments, maybe even anger. I expected her to fight for me. Instead, she just nodded and said, "If that's what you want, Adeline." The relief on her face was unmistakable, like I'd just solved a problem she'd been struggling with. That moment taught me something about love I'm still processing 20 years later. Sometimes the people who should fight hardest to keep you are the quickest to let you go. So I moved in with Dad, Abigail, and Ethan permanently. Mom and I maintained contact, but it was surface level. Text messages about grades, awkward birthday phone calls. She seemed more invested in Blair's life anyway, especially after Blair married and had a daughter. Suddenly, Mom transformed into the devoted grandmother, posting endless photos on social media, bragging about her perfect granddaughter. I graduated high school surrounded by the family that had chosen to love me. Dad and Abigail pushed me to attend college, offering to help with tuition. "We believe in you, Adeline," Abigail told me. "This is an investment in your future." Mom didn't even attend my graduation. College introduced me to my passion. Chemistry fascinated me, the precise way molecules bonded and separated, the science behind creating products that made people feel beautiful. It led directly to my career in cosmetics, where I discovered I wasn't just good at the work, I was exceptional. After graduation, my salary climbed rapidly. I was earning more than I'd ever imagined possible, living independently, building a life that made me proud. And through it all, Mom and I barely spoke. Then, 2 years ago, everything changed. Mom called unexpectedly. "Adeline," she said, her voice somehow warmer than I remembered. "I miss you. I think we should try rebuilding our relationship." I was suspicious, of course I was. But part of me, that 12-year-old girl who just wanted her mother to love her, desperately wanted to believe we could repair what had been broken for so long. We started meeting for coffee. Mom seemed genuinely interested in my life for the first time in years. She asked about my job, my apartment, my salary. She wanted details about my successes, my plans for the future. I thought maybe she was finally ready to be the mother I'd always needed. We spoke regularly after that. She'd call every few weeks, always asking how work was going, if I was saving money, if I needed anything. Sometimes she'd mention financial troubles, and I'd send her money. Not huge amounts, $50 here, $100 there, but enough to help with utilities or groceries. I thought I was being a good daughter. I thought this was what healing looked like. So when I finally decided to pursue my lake house dream, I was excited to share it with everyone who mattered to me. I started with the family that had always supported me. Saturday dinner at Dad and Abigail's was perfect, as usual. The rich aroma of Abigail's famous pot roast filled the kitchen, and Dad gave me his typical bear hug when I arrived. "You look excited about something," Abigail said, pouring me a glass of wine. "What's going on?" I couldn't suppress my smile. "I've been thinking about buying a lake house." Dad's face brightened immediately. "Adeline, that's fantastic. You've worked so hard for this." "Really?" I felt like a child again, seeking their approval. "Honey, we're so proud of you," Abigail said, clapping her hands together. "A lake house sounds absolutely wonderful." We spent the entire dinner discussing it. Abigail asked about locations I was considering, Dad wanted to know about fishing opportunities, and I showed them photos of properties on my phone. They asked thoughtful questions and offered to help however they could. "This is such a smart investment," Abigail said as we cleared dishes. "And you deserve a place where you can truly relax. The best part is you all can visit whenever you want," I told them. "Ethan too, with his girlfriend. We could have family weekends there." Dad squeezed my shoulder. "Your mother would be proud." That's when I realized I hadn't thought about telling Mom yet. Actually, I'm having dinner with her next week. I'll tell her then. The following Saturday, I drove to Mom's house, feeling strangely optimistic. Maybe this would strengthen our rebuilding relationship. Maybe she'd be as excited for me as Dad and Abigail had been. Mom greeted me with a hug, her familiar perfume enveloping me. Vernon was there, quiet as always, and Blair was visiting with her 11-year-old daughter Emma. The usual family dinner crowd. "Adeline," Blair called with that artificial cheerfulness she always used around me. "How's work going? Still making the big bucks?" "It's going well," I said, settling into my chair. Emma colored in a book, barely acknowledging me. Mom served her usual beef stew, and we made uncomfortable small talk. Vernon discussed his hardware store job, Blair complained about her husband's work hours, and Emma asked for more juice every 5 minutes. Finally, I couldn't contain my news anymore. "I have some exciting news to share with everyone." The table quieted, all eyes turning to me. "I've decided to buy a lake house." I've been saving for years, and I think it's time to invest in something like this. But instead of the enthusiastic reaction I'd received from Dad and Abigail, Mom's eyes developed a strange gleam. She set down her fork and stared at me. "A lake house," she said slowly. "How wonderful." Then her expression shifted, and I witnessed something I'd never seen before. She looked like she was calculating something, working through complex equations in her head. "You know," she said, leaning forward, "my 60th birthday is in 4 months. This could be perfect timing." My stomach twisted. I immediately knew where this was heading. "You could give me the house as a birthday gift. It would be such a generous present, and we could all use it. You could still visit on weekends, of course." I nearly choked on my water. "Mom, that's an extremely expensive gift. I was planning to buy this house for myself." Her face fell immediately. "For yourself? But Adeline, think about how nice it would be for all of us to have a vacation place. Vernon and Blair and Emma could use it too." "I mean, you're all welcome to visit," I said carefully, "but I want to own it myself." Blair snorted. "Come on, Adeline. You make good money. Don't be selfish with Mom." "It's not about being selfish," I said, feeling heat rising in my cheeks. "It's about making reasonable decisions. A house is an enormous gift." Mom's expression turned cold. "I think you should consider very carefully what I've asked, Adeline. Family should come first." The remainder of dinner was painfully awkward. Mom changed subjects and pretended everything was normal, but tension radiated from everyone at the table. Vernon kept giving me disapproving looks, and Blair wore a smug smile, like she thought I was being ridiculous. When I got home that night, I poured myself a large glass of wine and collapsed onto my couch, trying to process what had just happened. My mother expected me to buy her a house. A house that would cost over $300,000. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I'd worked incredibly hard to reach my position. I'd saved diligently, lived carefully, planned methodically for this purchase. And she thought I should simply hand it over as a birthday present? I reflected on all the times I'd sent her money over the past 2 years. 50 here, 100 there. I'd thought I was helping my mother out of love, but now I wondered if she'd been testing me, gauging how much she could extract from me. By the time I finished my wine, I'd made my decision. I was not giving my mother a house. It was completely inappropriate for her to even request something so extravagant. If she wanted a lake house, she could save and buy one herself. The next morning, I called my friend Alexander, who works as a realtor. "Hey, remember how I mentioned wanting to look at lake properties? I think I'm ready to get serious about this." "Absolutely," he said. "I'll start gathering some listings. What's your budget looking like?" We talked for an hour about my requirements, something cozy but not tiny, good lake access, within an hour's drive from the city. Alexander promised to call me as soon as he found suitable options. 2 months later, Alexander called with excitement in his voice. "Adeline, I found your house. It's perfect for what you described, and it just hit the market." I drove out that same day to view it. The moment I saw it, I knew Alexander was right. It was a small 2-bedroom cottage with a wraparound porch, perched on a beautiful lakefront lot. The price stretched my budget, but with a mortgage, I could make it work. "I want it," I told Alexander before we'd even completed the tour. 3 weeks later, I stood in front of my new lake house, keys clutched in my hand. I couldn't believe it was actually mine. The mortgage paperwork was signed, the deal was closed, and I owned a house on the lake. I took a selfie standing in front of the house and posted it on Facebook with the caption, "Dreams do come true. Finally got my lake house." I was inside, exploring my new space and mentally arranging furniture, when my phone rang. It was Mom. "Adeline, I just saw your post." Her voice came through sharp and angry. "Why didn't you consult me before buying a house?" I stopped pacing around my new living room and stared out at the lake. "Consult you? Why would I need to do that?" "Because I'm going to get this house anyway," she said, as if stating an obvious fact. "You're lucky I like this one." I sighed heavily. "Mom, we already discussed this. I'm not giving you my house as a birthday present. You're being selfish, Adeline, she snapped. I've been dreaming of a country house for years. You have plenty of money, and this would mean everything to me. Then she started crying. Actually crying, like a child throwing a tantrum. I can't believe my own daughter won't do this one thing for me, she sobbed. Before I could respond, she hung up. I stared at my phone for a minute, then shook my head and put it away. This was absurd. I wasn't calling her back to manage her manipulation. 2 weeks later, I returned to Dad and Abigail's for dinner. I needed to tell them about Mom's reaction. That's completely unacceptable, Abigail said, shaking her head. Adeline, please tell me you're not considering this. Of course not, I said, but she's been messaging me constantly. Look at this. I showed them some of Mom's texts. Message after message about how tired she was of city life, how she deserved a place to relax, how I should prioritize family. This is emotional blackmail, Abigail said firmly. Don't you dare give in. Dad remained quiet for a moment, then looked at me seriously. Adeline, your mother has never put you first. Not when you were a child, not now. You don't owe her a house. Their support strengthened my resolve. I'd been ignoring most of Mom's messages, only responding to those unrelated to the house. But as her birthday approached, the messages intensified. More desperate, more manipulative. Finally, her 60th birthday party arrived. I decided to give her a meaningful but reasonable gift. I went to a car dealership and purchased a small used car. Nothing extravagant, but newer than what she drove and in excellent condition. It cost around $15,000, which I considered extremely generous. I had the dealership wrap the keys in a small jewelry box. The car would remain at the dealership until after the party, then we'd pick it up together. When I arrived at Mom's house for the celebration, she hugged me and seemed genuinely happy to see me. All her friends attended, plus Vernon's family and familiar neighbors. Adeline, sweetheart, come sit here, she said, guiding me to a chair beside hers. I saved you the best seat. She leaned close and whispered, I really hope this gift is going to be special. I smiled without responding. Let her wonder. The party progressed normally. Cake, small talk, people sharing stories about Mom. I felt uncomfortable throughout, but maintained politeness. Finally, gift time arrived. Mom stood and tapped her wine glass with a fork. Everyone, she announced, I have something exciting to share. My daughter Adeline has a very special surprise for me tonight. My stomach dropped. What was she doing? Adeline has decided to give me her beautiful new lake house for my birthday, she said proudly. The room erupted in applause. People congratulated her, commenting on how fortunate she was to have such a generous daughter. I sat frozen, watching this nightmare unfold. Mom looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to stand and confirm her announcement. But I refused to participate in this charade. I stood slowly and handed her the small box. The lake house keys aren't in here, Mom. But I think you'll like what I got you instead. Her expression transformed from excitement to confusion to fury in seconds. She snatched the box from my hands and stormed out of the living room. I heard her in the kitchen, then she returned empty-handed. I threw it in the trash, she said coldly. There's no place here for greed and selfishness. Get out. Some guests looked uncomfortable. A few attempted small talk to mask the awkwardness. But Vernon and Blair nodded approvingly at Mom's behavior. You really embarrassed yourself tonight, Adeline, Blair said with that nasty smile. I remained silent. I stood, walked into the kitchen, and retrieved the small box from the trash. It hadn't even been opened. Then I left through the front door. When I got home, I was trembling. I called Abigail immediately. She threw your gift in the trash? Abigail's voice was incredulous. Without even opening it? Adeline, I'm so sorry. I started crying then, recounting everything. How Mom had announced to everyone that I was giving her the house. How she'd humiliated me in front of all those people. How she'd discarded a $15,000 gift without even looking at it. I want to call her right now and give her a piece of my mind, Abigail said. Please don't, I begged. I just want this to be over. After hanging up, I sat holding the box with the car keys inside. What was I supposed to do with a car now? I considered returning it for a refund. But then I had a better idea. The next morning, I drove to Dad and Abigail's house with the car keys in my pocket. Abigail, I said when she opened the door, I have something for you. I handed her the box. This was supposed to be my mother's birthday gift. She threw it away without even opening it. But I want you to have it, because you're the one who's been a real mother to me. Abigail opened the box and saw the car keys. Her eyes filled with tears. Adeline, you can't give me a car, she whispered. Yes, I can, I insisted. You've done more for me than my biological mother ever did. You deserve this. She started crying and hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I love you so much, sweetheart. We drove to the dealership together and collected the car. It was perfect for Abigail, compact enough for her to drive comfortably, yet reliable and safe. I took a photo of her standing beside it, her face radiant with surprise and joy. When I returned home, I posted the photo on Facebook with the caption, "When your real mother rejects a gift, you give it to someone who actually deserves it." This car is now in the right hands. The next morning, my phone began ringing at 7 a.m. Mom calling repeatedly. I ignored every call. When she realized I wasn't answering, text messages flooded in. Adeline, you need to give me that car. It was my birthday gift. I can't believe you would do this to your own mother. That car belongs to me. You're stealing from me. I deleted every message without responding. She'd made her choice when she discarded the gift without opening it. 2 days later, I was at home after work, preparing dinner and attempting to relax, when someone pounded on my apartment door. Through the peephole, I saw Mom and Blair standing there, both looking furious. I knew this confrontation was inevitable. I opened the door. How could you do this to me? Mom shouted, pushing past me into my apartment. Blair followed, slamming the door behind her. You lied to everyone, Blair accused. You made Mom look like a fool, and then you gave away her gift. I laughed involuntarily. Her gift? She threw it in the trash. I didn't know what was in the box, Mom protested. You should have told me. I shrugged. You showed me exactly how much you value me, Mom. You discarded my gift without even looking at it. All you cared about was getting that house. That's not true, she began, then stopped. I guess even she recognized how false that sounded. You know what, she said, dropping all pretense. Fine. I'll sue you. I'll take you to court and get that car back. I laughed again. Good luck with that. I have photos of you throwing my gift in the trash, plus about 20 witnesses who saw you do it. Her face paled. She hadn't considered that. I was joking about suing, she backpedaled quickly. But you must return my car. I'm your real mother, not that stepmother of yours. Abigail loves me, I stated firmly. You only love my money. That's the difference. That's not true, she cried, tears forming again. I love you. No, you don't, I replied calmly. If you loved me, you would have been happy about my house. Instead, you tried to take it from me. You discarded a $15,000 gift because it wasn't expensive enough. Blair stepped forward. You're being ridiculous, Adeline. Mom deserves that car more than your stepmother. Get out, I ordered, pointing at the door. Both of you. And don't contact me again. They finally left. Mom was still crying, and Blair muttered about my ingratitude. I locked the door and poured myself a large glass of wine. That was 6 months ago. I haven't spoken to Mom, Blair, or Vernon since that night. Mom tried calling and texting for weeks, but I blocked her number. Eventually, she gave up. My life has improved immeasurably. I spend weekends at my lake house, reading on the porch and swimming. Dad and Abigail visit frequently. Abigail loves driving her car there. She says it gives her a sense of independence. Ethan brings his girlfriend Ruby too. They enjoy sitting by the fire pit at night, making s'mores and discussing their future. Last month, Ethan asked if he could propose to Ruby at the lake house. Of course, I told him. This place is for family. He proposed on the dock at sunset, and she accepted. Now they're planning their wedding, and Ethan asked if they could hold the ceremony at the lake house. I'm thrilled to help them plan. Abigail's already discussing decorating the porch with flowers and arranging tables on the lawn. Dad wants to hang lights between the trees. It will be beautiful. Sometimes I wonder if Mom regrets her actions. But honestly, I don't miss the drama. I don't miss her constant financial demands or guilt trips about family obligations. I don't miss feeling inadequate unless I was writing her a check. Abigail calls weekly just to chat. Not asking for anything, just checking on me. Dad sends funny memes and fish pictures. Ethan shares wedding venue photos and requests my opinion. This is what real family feels like. The irony is that if Mom had simply been happy for me about the house, if she'd shown support like a mother should, I would have invited her to visit regularly. She could have enjoyed the lake house without owning it. But she couldn't accept me having something she couldn't control. Last weekend, Abigail and I sat on the porch at sunset, drinking wine and watching the water. She described a book she was reading, and I just listened, feeling grateful. You know what I love most about this place? I said. What's that, honey? It's filled with people who genuinely want to be with me, not just people who want things from me. Abigail squeezed my hand. You deserve that, Adeline. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not what you can provide. She's right. I spent too many years trying to purchase my mother's love, sending money whenever she asked, hoping she would finally see me as more than a bank account. But some people never change. Now I'm surrounded by family who chose to love me. Abigail didn't have to care for me when she married my father, but she chose to treat me like her daughter. Dad could have taken Mom's side in this conflict, but he chose to support me. Ethan could have remained neutral, but he chose to celebrate my success. These are the people who matter. These are the people who will attend his wedding next summer, dancing under stars at my lake house. My real family. And Mom? She's still driving her old car, still living with Vernon and Blair, probably still complaining about life's unfairness. But that's not my concern anymore. I'm done trying to earn love from people unwilling to give it. I'm done feeling guilty for enjoying things I worked hard to achieve. I'm done being manipulated by tears and guilt trips. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others who might be struggling with toxic family relationships. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your true family, sometimes in the most unexpected places. Remember, blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family.